Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Zishan Isaac. This is Zishan on air. We have a lot to cover and we'll dive right into the key news coming out from the Wall Street Journal. Government shutdown begins as funding lapses. A lot of federal services will be halted and have been halted, and hundreds of thousands of federal workers are now furloughed. Democratic lawmakers call for restoring hundreds of billions of dollars in healthcare funding, and Trump touts shutdown as quote unprecedented opportunity unquote to cut more democratic priorities. That was reported by CNBC, and President Donald Trump said Democrats gave him an quote unprecedented opportunity unquote to slash government agencies during the government shutdown. The Trump administration recently said it froze about $18 billion with a B for New York City infrastructure projects and canceled another $8 billion for climate projects in Democratic-leaning states. Trump said he will meet with Office of Management and Budget (OMB) Director Russell Vought, a Project 2025 author, to discuss cutting what he called quote Democrat agencies unquote. So this is causing a lot of pain with regards to a lot of federal services, and people have been impacted, and they have been negatively impacted. And hopefully, Democrats and Republicans they will come up with some type of a solution. And why it happens? Because there is this provision within the rules and procedures and within the operations of the U.S. government in terms of whenever they reach the debt ceiling, then they have to raise the debt ceiling, and that is where the situation is. So this 2-day-old government shutdown, while blaming them for causing it, that was like a few days ago when it was reported by CNBC. And top Democrats leading the shutdown fight, Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, both represent New York. So they obviously are now facing this administrative action by Trump's warning in terms of $18 billion for two major infrastructure projects in New York City, and canceled roughly $8 billion more for climate-related projects in Democratic-leaning states. So this is where we are now. The New Republic has reported Pope Leo, and Pope Leo is one of the popes. In fact, the only pope who is American. He's from Chicago, and he slams Trump, Vance, and Hexet all in one go. That was reported by the New Republic. Pope Leo had no kind words for this administration's stance on immigration, war, or what it means to be, quote, pro-life, unquote. On Tuesday evening, the Chicago-born Pope Leo spoke out against anti-immigrant sentiment in the United States, as well as Defense Secretary Pete Hexet's bellicose rhetoric. At an unusual gathering of military leaders earlier that day, Hexet had told the top brass to be, quote, prepared for war, not for defense, unquote, while espousing the use of, quote, overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy, unquote, and promising to, quote, untie the hands of our war fighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country, unquote. Speaking to reporters in Italian, Leo called Hexet's rhetoric, quote, worrying, unquote, per the Catholic news agency. And he further said, quote, because it shows each time an increase in tensions, unquote, citing Hexet's change in job title from, quote, Secretary of Defense, unquote, to Secretary of War, obviously, quote, unquote. The Pope said, let's hope that's only a way of speaking. That's what the Pope said. And this is where, he further said, quote, I'm not terribly familiar with the particular case, unquote, in terms of this whole situation with the pontiff. Also discussed Chicago Cardinal Blaise Cupic's decision to present a Lifetime Achievement Award to outgoing Democratic Senator Dick Durbin, who represents Illinois and is a Catholic, but whose support of legal abortion stirred conservative backlash against his announced honor. Durbin ultimately opted to decline the award. So this is what the quote was with regards to Leo. He said that I'm not terribly familiar with the particular case. In English, he said, and then when asked about the controversy, quote, he said, I think that it's very important to look at the overall work that a senator has done during, if I'm not mistaken, 40 years of service in the United States Senate, unquote. So Pope Leo, he's been followed by millions and millions of people, some say more than a billion, and that's Pope Leo. Federal judge blocks Trump from deploying Oregon National Guard to Portland. That's Oregon Capitol Chronicle has reported. The order temporarily stops Trump's and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's plan to deploy 200 Oregon Guard troops to Portland to guard federal buildings. And just as I was driving to the studio, Governor Newsom of California said that if the California National Guards would be deployed to Oregon, he is going to file a lawsuit to Trump, obviously the federal government. So we'll see how that news develops. NBC has reported White House authorizes deployment of National Guard to Illinois. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said there was, quote, no need for military troops on the ground, unquote. So another situation is developing in the state of Illinois. The Hill has reported employer hiring plans at lowest level since 2009. New report shows, and data from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas show uncertain job market. ADP report showed the U.S. private sector shed 32,000 jobs in September. Government September jobs report is delayed due to the shutdown. And this is where, quote, right now we're dealing with this stagnating labor market, cost increases, and a transformative new technology, unquote, Challenger said. And further, quote, with the rate cuts on the way, we may see some stabilizing in the job market in the fourth quarter, but other factors could keep employers planning layoffs or holding off hiring, unquote. So this is where even more concerning. Its August estimate was revised from a gain of 54,000 to a loss of 3,000. And this is where on the hiring side, the situation looks bleak. Employers have announced plans to add about 205,000 jobs through the first 9 months of the year, down 58% from the same point in 2024 and the lowest tally since 2009. The latest figures highlight what analysts call a, quote, no hire, no fire labor market, limited opportunities, but so far relatively few layoffs. And then Challenger's report comes as official government data is paused due to the federal shutdown. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, September jobs report will likely not be released as scheduled on Friday. So we're going to wait for those numbers. U.S. employers announced fewer job cuts in September, but hiring plans fell to their lowest levels since 2009, underscoring uncertainty in the labor market, according to a Thursday report. And then companies around 54,064 job cuts last month, down 37% from August and 26% lower than the same month a year earlier. Outplacement from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas said. It was only the third time this year that cuts came in below the same month a year earlier. And the CPI, Consumer Price Index, for September is scheduled for release October 15, but depending on when the shutdown ends, that too could be delayed. Still, employers have announced 946,426 job reductions so far this year, the highest since 2020, when more than 2 million cuts were announced. So tough times from an economy perspective, and hopefully we'll see better economy, because that's what President Donald Trump promised America. BBC has reported, and this is where the Trump's Gaza plan has now been unveiled. The first point, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but just 4 or 5 top points altogether. There are 20 points. Gaza, the first one is Gaza will be a de-radicalized terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Number 2 point is Gaza will be redeveloped to the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. And number 3, if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military options, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. Number 4 point is within 72 hours of Israel's publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages alive and deceased will be returned. And the 5th point is once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after 7th October 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. So these are the top 5 points, and then goes on all the way to 20 points, and you can look it up online, as well as just subscribe my YouTube channel as well, and connect with me on social media. And I'll just read the very last point here, the 20th point. The United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. Now, Al Jazeera has reported how will Gaza be governed. Well, the story on the right can tell us a good picture, and it's deliberately blank because obviously there's a vacuum in leadership in Gaza, and we don't know. And what Al Jazeera has reported, because it's followed by millions of people in the Arab world and especially in the Middle East, the proposal envisions a quote temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee unquote, that would oversee the territory's affairs, but it does not detail how the panel will be formed or who will select its members. Moreover, the plan says that Trump and Tony Blair, the United Kingdom's former prime minister, would lead a quote, board of peace, unquote, that would supervise the governing committee, but the roadmap does not explain the nature of the relationship between this board and the Palestinian committee or at what level the day-to-day decisions will be made. That is reported by Al Jazeera as well. Will the Palestinian Authority be involved? They asked this question, and Trump's plan says that the transitional authorities would take control of Gaza until, quote, such time as the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform, unquote, program, that reform program, and, quote, can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza, unquote. Yet it remains unclear who would certify that the PA, Palestinian Authority, is ready to take over Gaza or what benchmarks must be met for the PA, Palestinian Authority, to handle the governance of the territory. So a lot of unknowns, but it's a step in the right direction. At least we would like to see glimmers of hope and some peace and this disaster that has occurred in Gaza that needs to end. American Jewish Committee has reported this entire piece on this. What the plan includes, Trump's plan as president of the White House presents concessions to both sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians. On the one hand, Israel will need to release more than 2,000 prisoners, many with murderous backgrounds, and avoid annexing any areas from the West Bank, as well as committing to no Hamas attacks on Qatari soil, while Hamas needs to commit to releasing all the hostages at once and disarm. Scenarios for Hamas, as AJC, American Jewish Committee, has reported. I don't foresee this person with AJC. I don't foresee Hamas agreeing to the plan, and we may see the following scenarios. Number one, they're saying Hamas will return a positive answer, but will ask to further discuss some of the points of the plan, after which it will attempt to delay the process for as long as possible. Number two is Hamas will completely decline the plan. Public opinion, the plan was received very positively by the Israeli public, especially due to the fact that the US, for the first time, is taking a practical lead on the issue of Gaza. And public opinion, obviously, there was a poll by the Jerusalem Post found that 71% of Israelis expressed some level of favor toward the plan. However, the same survey showed that only 12% believe it can realistically implement it. Another poll focused on coalition, that is pro-government voters, found that 41% backed the plan versus 33% who oppose it, marking the first time support among Netanyahu voters surpasses outright opposition. These results suggest that that while the plan is broadly seen as desirable in principle, many Israelis are deeply skeptical about its practical viability. In terms of political reactions, Benjamin Netanyahu has stated, quote, I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas military capabilities and its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel, unquote. And Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich harshly criticized this proposal, calling it, quote, a historic missed opportunity, and in my estimation, it will end in tears. Our children will be forced to fight in Gaza again, unquote. So that was the Finance Minister Bezalel. He said, and he's saying that the celebrations and all this definitely since yesterday are simply absurd, according to him. The Shiism between Netanyahu and his far-right ministers reveals the fragile nature of the government coalition amid this diplomatic gambit. So let's see what happens, and then they go on in terms of Arab states rally behind this plan, and they mentioned Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a joint statement with the Foreign Ministry of Jordan, UAE, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt on September 29th, welcoming President Trump's 20-point plan. The statement declares these key Arab and Islamic countries commitment to work with the United States to, quote, find a path to peace, unquote. The statement goes on to note their readiness to, quote, engage positively and constructively with the United States and the parties toward finalizing the agreement and ensuring the implementation in a manner that ensures peace, security, and stability for the peoples of the region, unquote. And you can read more: careful diplomacy, the UAE's engagement, and we'll see how this shapes up. And the Saudi factor, they talk about that, the AJC, and they said that what appears missing so far is a clear comment from Riyadh. It's noteworthy that while Saudi Arabia traditionally seeks to speak as the leader of the Gulf states, the Saudis have so far taken a low-key approach, joining the rest of the coalition in supporting the president's plan, but not signaling a distinctive role for themselves. It's also noteworthy that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, as he's known as, has been much less publicly visible since President Trump's high-profile visit to Riyadh in May. As is often the case with Saudi Arabia, there's likely much going on behind the scenes. However, so far the Saudi leadership is aligning with their Arab and Islamic partners in supporting the president without signaling a significant role for themselves in post-conflict governance, security, or reconstruction. And from Washington, Benji Rogers analyzes Trump's Gaza peace proposal, turning point, plan priorities, international support. So he's talking about international stabilization force, charged with policing Gaza, and then a possible pathway towards statehood, offering a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence, and then the U.S. role and the Hamas obstacle. So we'll see how this shapes up. NPR has reported what to know about former UK leader Tony Blair, tapped by Trump for post-war Gaza role. Well, in Trump's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza, only one name appears other than his own, Tony Blair. Blair, as Prime Minister of the UK, helped negotiate a 1998 peace deal between ending decades of sectarian fighting in Northern Ireland. He later served as a military peace envoy for the international community and now runs a London think tank. But the 72-year-old former politician comes with a baggage. He's reviled in the UK and internationally for his 2000 decision to join President George W. Bush's US-led invasion of Iraq. The war led to some 200,000 civilian deaths and triggered some of the biggest street protests in modern British history. It was military quagmire and contributed to a precipitous drop in Blair's approval rating, according to Ipsos polling. Throughout his decade in power, no other prime minister in modern British history experienced such a steep plunge in popularity. And after a UK government inquiry concluded in 2016 that Blair's decision to help invade Iraq was made hastily on the basis of flawed intelligence, he offered a tearful public apology, saying he felt, quote, more sorrow, regret, and apology than you may ever know or can believe, unquote. Now, nearly 2 years into the devastating Gaza war, Blair appears poised to cast his lot with another US president who's promising a better outcome in Gaza than there was in Iraq. So what role Blair might play in Gaza? Trump's new plan for Gaza includes a quote, board of peace, chaired by the US president himself, but he told reporters the board would also include, quote, very distinguished leaders from other countries. The only person he named was Blair. And then in a statement, Blair called Trump's plan, quote, bold and intelligent. And let's see how this shapes up. The staff from Blair's think tank has also reportedly been involved in talks about plans to transform Gaza into, quote, a Trump Riviera, unquote, with a manufacturing zone named after Elon Musk. And in February, Trump shared an AI-generated video of his plans, including images of a glitzy resort called, quote, Trump Gaza, unquote. So what are the Palestinians thinking? Palestinians were not consulted on Trump's 20 plan for Gaza, nor on Blair's involvement in Gaza's future. That is reported by NPR. And on Wednesday, Umar Abdallah, a top Palestinian official, told NPR, quote, welcomes, unquote, Trump's efforts, but wants further discussion on the plan's details. Quote, all the Palestinians should welcome the efforts of Mr. Trump because we see it as an opportunity to end the bloodshed in Gaza, unquote, said Abdallah, the Palestinian Authority's deputy foreign affairs minister. Quote, about the transitional government or transitional committee, I think we need work on this change to the dynamics and to enter into a dialogue on the details, unquote. And the plan would require Hamas to release all Israeli hostages, as I mentioned earlier, but A member of the Hamas political bureau, Hasham Badran, has already been quoted as saying he considers Blair to be, quote, the devil's brother, unquote, and denounced his involvement. Quote, Tony Blair is not a welcome figure in the Palestinian cause, and therefore any plan associated with this person is an ill omen for the Palestinian people, unquote. Badran was quoted as telling Al Jazeera. And this is where we'll see how this thing shapes up. And then further, United Nations Special Rapporteur for the Occupied Territories, Francesca Albanese, wrote on the social media, quote, Tony Blair, question mark, hell no, hands off Palestine. Shall we meet in The Hague, perhaps? Question mark, unquote. That's a reference to the location of the International Criminal Court in the Netherlands. So a lot of anxiety, a lot of, I would say, at this point, people are also upset, and there are some glimmers of hope. So there's a mixed reaction. Some of the players, some of the Blair's fellow Brits say the same. Blair's decision about Iraq is still taint his reputation at home. And then Blair's prior experience in conflict zone. So they're saying that he settled an 800-year conflict between Britain and Ireland. So he's a man who's actually delivered a peace process and knows all the issues around negotiating and delivering. So that's how they're trying to sell his credentials. But the world has already seen what Tony Blair and George W. Bush has done. So this is where it's going to be interesting. And after leaving office, he served for nearly 8 years as a special envoy for the Quartet, the United States, UN, European Union, and Russia, trying to negotiate Israeli-Palestinian peace. He was not successful. So over the years, he has run businesses and nonprofits, including Tony Blair Associates, the Tony Blair Sports Foundation, the Tony Blair Faith Foundation, the Tony Blair Africa Governance Initiative, most of which have since been folded into a London think tank, which he founded in 2016 and also named after himself. And further, it's reported he basically, quote, he was one of the main contributors to the destruction of Iraq, and he also came out, admitted that he contributed to its destruction, unquote. A man named Hassan Abdullah told Reuters, quote, so it's not a good choice to have him as a peacemaker for the Gaza Strip, unquote. NPR producer Fatma Al-Qasir contributed to this report. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the situation with the Gaza peace plan. Hopefully peace prevails and calmer minds and people come back to the negotiating table, and all this chaos and this entire destruction. And there are so many words. Many people are calling it genocide. Many people are also saying this mass starvation and very systemic starvation that is happening. Children are dying, and basically that means that weeks and months of starvation has been going on, because that's how the human body operates. So very sad situation, but at least now we have some hope, and I certainly hope as well that peace prevails. We would like to thank our key advertisers. Without them, I am not able to bring you the social media and all the research and on legacy media as well. So Affordable Insurance of Texas, AITinsurance.com. You can visit them online. And for all your auto insurance needs, you can get a quote in minutes. Call for affordable quotes at Affordable Insurance of Texas, 713-785-4000. 713-785-4000 is their number for auto insurance, commercial insurance, business insurance, health insurance, and homeowners insurance, and especially for your all auto insurance needs. Call them 713-785-4000, AITinsurance.com. And also, I would like to thank Roop Sari Palace, under 1,000 square footage. I was there over the weekend. They were very busy, and there are a lot of people shopping for weddings and to attend weddings, and even for brides and grooms. All different kind of clothing they have, and as you can see in the pictures as well, you can certainly call them. They can ship it out to you anywhere in the US. Their number is 832-267-0065. Call them and order with them by calling 832-267-0065. You can visit them online, roopsari.com, roopsari.com, and they have clothing and all formal dresses and evening wear, evening gowns for men, women, boys, girls, toddlers, children, and even different types of imitation custom jewelry. And for all your needs for weddings, for brides and grooms, Roop Sari Palace, roopsari.com. And also, I would like to thank and welcome our key advertiser, Prince Jewelers. Prince Jewelers, Houston, yes, they are at the Hillcroft Shopping Plaza, 5901 Hillcroft Street. You cannot miss them in Houston. Their phone number is 281 777 1457. 281 777 1457. So very easy to remember, or just note it down, 281 777 1457. And Prince Jewelers Houston, they have a special sale going on. Diwali sale is on, and you can certainly contact them at 281 777 1457. And I would also like to mention about Diwali sale. So Diwali sale is certainly going on at Roopsari Palace as well, and they have now shipments every 4 or 5 days. And you can also get best clothes from Roopsari Palace, and then for jewelry, go to Prince Jewelers Houston, and get the special sale at Prince Jewelers and Diwali sale as well. Take advantage of that. So with that, I would like to sign off with the social media and continue with Legacy Media. And thank you for joining me. And if you've not subscribed my YouTube channel, please do. And again, I report, you decide. Thank you so much. And we'll connect next Sunday, same time, with social media and with the Legacy Media. Thank you.